Intro. What if I told you the Toyota Supra MK4 almost never became the car we know today? What if I told you the legend of the 2JZ, the car that dominated dynos and street racing culture, was nearly canceled, watered down, or buried under Toyota's reputation for being too safe? Because the Supra wasn't born a legend. It was born in fear, rivalry, and wild experiments that Toyota tried to hide. Some ideas were brilliant, some were bizarre, and some, if greenlit, could have changed JDM history completely. So buckle up. This is the hidden story of the OG Supra MK4, from secret prototypes to engineering gambles Toyota hoped you'd never hear about. The shadow of the MK3. By the early 90s, the Supra was in trouble. The MK3 had grown bloated and expensive. It was fast, sure, but it was heavy and carried the stigma of being just another GT. Toyota's executives debated killing the Supra entirely. But one team inside Toyota, led by Isao Suzuki, the father of the MR2, refused. They argued Toyota needed a halo car to prove Japan could stand toe-to-toe with Europe's Ferraris and America's Corvettes. Without that rebellion, there would be no MK4. The Ferrari benchmark. Forget Nissan Skyline. Forget RX-7. The engineers had a different enemy, Ferrari's 348 and 512 TR. Internal documents show Toyota's marching orders. The MK4 had to beat Italy on stability, acceleration, and braking, but at a fraction of the price. That's why the Supra got aluminum suspension arms, a rigid subframe, and brakes that dwarfed anything in its class. The Supra wasn't designed to keep up with Japanese rivals. It was designed to humiliate European exotics. The secret aerodynamics lab. Most people think the MK4's massive wing was just a styling gimmick. Wrong. Toyota's engineers ran endless hours in the wind tunnel. They discovered the Supra's body shape created lift at high speed. Bad news if you want to outrun Ferraris. The fix wasn't just the wing. The underbody was sculpted for stability. The side mirrors were wine-tuned, and even the headlights were reshaped to reduce drag. The giant wing? It planted the rear wheels at 150 plus mph, keeping the car stable when rivals floated. Function first, icon later. The diet. Nobody noticed the MK3 Supra was heavy. Toyota needed the E80 leaner, faster, sharper. That meant a strict weight loss program. Aluminum hood, aluminum roof, hollow bead cross members, lighter carpet fibers, magnesium steering wheel frame. Even the fuel tank was plastic. The result, over 200 pounds shaved compared to the MK3. Critics laughed at plastic fuel tanks. Decades later, it's one reason MK4s resisted rust better than rivals. The twin-turbo gamble. Here's where Toyota rolled the dice. A single turbo would have been simple, reliable, and cheaper. But Nissan Skyline GT-R was making headlines with its punchy turbo power. Toyota wanted more. Engineers designed a sequential twin-turbo system. One small turbo for instant low-end grunt, one large turbo for the top-end rush. The transition was delicate. Get it wrong, and the car would stumble. Get it right, and the power curve would feel like a rising tsunami. The system was complex, fragile on paper, but when tuned correctly, it made the Supra a legend. The birth of the 2JZ GTE. The Supra's heart wasn't born for racing. It was born for luxury sedans. The 2JZ GTE, an iron block 3.0L inline 6, was meant for smoothness, silence, and bulletproof longevity. But it was over-engineered to a fault. Massive block, thick cylinder walls, forged-friendly internals, oil passages sized for abuse. For the Supra, Toyota added oil coolers, stronger pistons, and twin turbos. They targeted 320 HP. What they really built was a motor ready for 1,000 plus. The engineers knew it. They just smiled and said nothing. The transmission wars at first. Toyota considered a 5-speed manual. Cheaper, simpler, good enough. But engineers tested the Getrag V166 speed, built in Germany for serious power handling. It was heavy, expensive, and a nightmare to source. Executives balked. Then test drivers ran the car back to back. With the 5-speed, it felt quick. With the Getrag 6-speed, it felt alive. The decision was made. Cost be damned. That gearbox would later become one of the most sought-after transmissions in tuner history. The brake crisis. During testing, the Supra could outrun Ferraris, but not stop like one. After repeated hot laps, the brakes faded, terrifying test drivers. Toyota refused to let their Halo car be humiliated. They raided the parts bin, then gave up and designed massive ventilated discs with 4-piston calipers from scratch. Critics call them a too much brake for a Toyota. Owners found out they were just right. 12. The interior illusions step inside the MK4 and it feels like a luxury coupe. But the cockpit was secretly built like a race car's, driver-centric, with the console angled toward the pilot, gauges clustered for instant reading, pedals aligned for heel-toe shifts. Even the steering wheel's magnesium frame was chosen to reduce flex at high GS. It tricked buyers into thinking it was comfortable. In truth, every detail whispered, "You're here to drive." 11. The launch nobody expected. When the MK4 Supra finally launched in 1993, it shocked the industry. Toyota, a company known for Camrys and Corollas, had built a 320 HP twin-turbo coupe with Ferrari-beating brakes and German-sourced transmission. The press called it a Japan's supercar. The US got steel turbo wheels for reliability. Japan got lightweight ceramics for faster spool. Both versions felt like overkill, yet sales were modest. Nobody knew this car would become a legend years later, fueled by tuners and street racers who discovered what Toyota quietly built, an unbreakable monster. 10. The Supra with a retractable roof. Everyone remembers the Targa Top Supra, but almost nobody knows Toyota once experimented with a power-operated retractable metal roof, a system similar to the Ford Skyliner from the 50s. On paper, it sounded perfect. A coupe when you wanted rigidity, a convertible when you wanted freedom. In practice, it was a disaster. The system used dozens of motors, switches, and linkages. It added nearly 500 pounds, raised the center of gravity, and ate all usable trunk space. Worse, the prototypes constantly failed. One executive famously sat inside a demo car when the roof jammed halfway in the rain. He walked out furious and wet. That was the death sentence for the retractable roof Supra. Toyota quietly shelved the idea and doubled down on the lighter sport roof, Targa design we know today. But somewhere in Toyota's archives are photographs of a Supra that could fold its roof like a transformer. If it had reached production, the Supra might have been remembered less as a tuner's dream and more as a complicated cruiser that broke down every side. 9. The forgotten all-wheel drive Supra. Most people think of the Supra as a pure rear-wheel drive car, but early on, Toyota flirted with something wild: all-wheel drive. Engineers borrowed the odd system from the Celica GT4, Toyota's rally weapon, and stuffed it under Supra prototypes. The result was shocking. In rain and snow, the odd Supra launched like a rocket. Test drivers said it clung to the road like glue. On slippery surfaces, it embarrassed Skylines and even held its own against Porsche's 911 Carrera 4. But the system was heavy, expensive, and compromised the Supra's balance. The MK4 was supposed to be Toyota's pure driver's car, not a heavy rally cousin. Worse, it added nearly $10,000 in development costs per unit. In the early 90s, Toyota was already worried the Supra would be too expensive. Adding odds sealed its fate. The odd Supra prototypes were quietly destroyed. Only a handful of engineers ever drove them. If they had been approved, history might have looked very different. The Skyline GT-R might have faced a true Japanese odd rival years before the Lancer Evolution and Subaru WRX took the crown. 8. The ceramic turbo gamble. Here's a weird one. Not all Supra S were created equal. US cars got steel turbo turbines, heavy but durable. Japanese market Supra S got ceramic turbine wheels. Why? Because ceramics spool faster. They're light, they're efficient, and they gave the JDM Supra razor-sharp throttle response compared to its American sibling. It worked beautifully until tuners turned up the boost. Ceramic turbines had one fatal flaw: they shattered under pressure, pushed past factory limits, and the turbos exploded, sending shards into the exhaust. Owners called it the glass turbo problem. For Toyota, it was a cost-saving and performance decision. For enthusiasts, it became a curse. To this day, finding an unbroken original ceramic turbo JDM Supra is like hunting unicorns. Most have long since been swapped for aftermarket steel singles or upgraded twins. This split in design gave the Supra a strange dual identity. Safe and steady for America, sharp but fragile for Japan. Toyota never admitted it outright, but they knew JDM tuners would find the weakness. And they did. very quickly. 7. The Supra that almost got a V8. When you hear Supra, you think inline 6. The 2JZ is practically a religion. But in the early 90s, Toyota's engineers weren't so sure. They tested a Supra prototype with a Lexus-sourced 4.0 LV. The logic was simple. V8s meant torque, smoothness, and prestige in the American market. The prototype sounded glorious, pulled hard at low RPM, and could have taken the Supra into Corvette territory. But the V8 lacked the high-rev drama Toyota wanted. More importantly, it made the car feel like a grand tourer, not a sports car. Inside Toyota, there was also fear that a V8 Supra would blur the line with Lexus luxury coupes. Would buyers think it was just a rebadged soarer? The 2JZ program was already underway, and its iron block promised indestructibility. The decision was made: stick with the inline 6. That single choice preserved the Supra's identity. Imagine if history had been different. If the Supra was remembered as a Japanese V8 muscle car instead of the turbocharged 6-cylinder monster we know today. 6. The hidden speed limiter war. In the early 90s, Japanese automakers signed the Gentleman's Agreement. No car could be advertised with more than 280 horsepower, and no production car could exceed 180 km/h, 112 mph. On paper, the Supra obeyed. Its brochures claimed 280 HP, and the ECU cut fuel at 180. And here's the secret. Toyota's engineers built in a simple bypass: disconnect one pin in the ECU, and suddenly the Supra was free, running well over 270 km/h, 168 mph. Some cars, bone stock, touched 180 mph on closed courses. This wasn't an accident. Toyota knew their customers. They played polite for the government, but gave enthusiasts a cheat code. The Supra became famous as the car that allied with a straight face. In Japan, street racers boasted about removing the limiter. Overseas tuners laughed because the car's true potential was never in the brochure. Outrow, Part 1. So there you have it, 5 of the strangest hidden facts about the Toyota Supra MK4. The retractable roof disaster, the AWD experiment, fragile ceramic turbos, the V8 that never was, and the speed limiter that Toyota practically begged you to break. But we're only halfway through. In Part 2, we'll reveal the top 5 weirdest facts, the stealth recalls, the dyno myth, the test driver who wouldn't lift, and the midnight story that turned the Supra into a global legend. Stay tuned, the best secrets are still ahead.